if you're chatting, they can hear you on the film. So that'd be helpful if you did. Okay, now, Ashton and Dalton, I've got to kill this other light.
Okay.
So you guys might want to get like where the window is. You might be all right. Dalton, you may want to move. Look at me for a minute. You may want to move over to that edge where you can see. Okay? It's up to you. Can you still see it? Okay. Okay, so this is just tempera paint that we're going to work with. All right? And I'm going to show you some different ways. You can practice on the mat how you want to do it. All right? And what we're going to do is just work with creating an emotion with different kinds of line. We've just got some watercolor brushes. So I'm going to take, there's a couple of ways we can do this. I'm going to take the paint and bring it over into one of the wells. And I can make it lighter. And this is just water, and you only want to get about a container of the water so that if it spills, you don't have too much of a mess. And I'm going to get some of the water into that black tempera paint, and I'm going to pull a little off here so I can control it, and I can kind of see if I want to play around with different values. We know now what value is. Value is making something lighter and darker. So I can get it even darker. What I'm doing is draining it off on the side so it doesn't run everywhere. So it can go that dark, or I can get it lighter by adding water. Okay, so that's one way we could do it. You could also squeeze off a little bit of the water, and you could blend it out so it creates a kind of a different look, like a fog. All right, you could squeeze off a ton of water to where all you have is just like a little bit of paint, and you could create dashed lines like that. You could stack colors, like maybe if I paint this section right here black, and then I come back to that section later, I could put more black dots on top of it so it creates a totally different look. Zoom in on that so you can see it. Maybe on the screen, who knows? Oh, just barely. All right, you could create a gray area and then go back in with the tip and see how thin you could create it. Okay? But with the line, what you're going to do is choose one emotion. All right? So somebody choose me one of the emotions on your paper. What you got?
Please.
Pleased. Okay? Now, the trick here is you can't draw just a happy face. All right? Now, this is wet right here, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to blot it so it doesn't mess up my paper. Okay? And then I've got this paper, and you said pleased. Okay, that's a hard one. So like, how could I create lines that might show pleased? Well, it's not super happy, so it's not gonna be all over the place crazy. But it might be something like, so if that's pleased, okay, we say that that's our symbol for pleased, what would an opposite of pleased be? Like something that you have on your paper. Autumn?
Aggressive.
Aggressive. So like I'm probably going to have something like that for aggressive, right? And then I might have like that kind of a look coming out of it. Does that feel more aggressive?
Yeah.
What's another one?
Innocent.
Innocent. To me, it might be something like that. Maybe a thinner line at the top. That might be my innocent line. Okay, so you can come up, there's really no wrong answer here, you're getting that right. you're trying to, now later we'll add colors to these, but for today now we want to leave a little bit of space at the bottom because we're going to write what those are later on, but just don't write them right now.
What about Goofy?
What would Goofy be? I don't know, what do you think?
Optimistic.
Like, I kind of feel like if I had a pile of this, and then I kind of, it feels to me like Goofy would be more of a fat line. And it's kind of all over the place. And then maybe like dashes.
Do aware.
Huh?
Aware.
Aware?
Yeah.
Aware. Okay. What would I do with aware?
Yeah.
I would do something like because to me it kind of feels like, you know how like when you almost are starting to get what the teacher's saying,
Yeah.
and then you're like it's like almost starting to get it, and then you're kind of aware, you know.
Yeah.
And it depends on, I guess, what color it would be. You get it? Super easy project. We're gonna do a couple of them before you leave, okay? And what I need for you to do before you do one is I want you to do this. Write with a pencil, write your name. How about one that works? Here we go. Write your name, your class code, okay? And then write whatever the word is that you're depicting, all right? That would be on the back. So like, give me one, give me a word.
Scared.
What was that?
Scared.
Scared? Would be on the back, okay? And then what we're gonna do, oh, mine splattered. So I gotta try to use that in my, let's see, scared. Kind of like, now can I draw like a happy face or an angry face? That's not what we're drawing, okay? Can't be like, it has to be like something that feels like that word, okay? So that might be what my scared might feel like, okay? You get it? Can't be like you're not drawing a skateboard because you like skateboards. We're not doing that, all right? Can't, like if it's dangerous, it can't be like you're painting a cliff. I want to see what kind of lines would happen. Remember, the more water you put on, the more it's going to run. What did I do to control the water? Squeeze the tip, okay? All right, you get it? All right, here's what I want. At your table, all of the other. Okay, so we're going to be working with an underneath sheet, and maybe some of the underneath sheets will have like some stuff already on them, and that's okay. It's not going to hurt anything. You're going to need about that much water in a container, and you can share that with the buddy beside you. You're going to need a small brush. It's got kind of a floppy tip there. You're going to need a tray to mix paint in, which you're mostly going to just be controlling like the water content in your tempera paint. In a minute, I'm going to be giving you a bigger sheet of paper, okay? And then you're going to be working with the tempera paint in a cup as well, okay? So first of all, let me just show you what the tempera paint can do. It's real watery, but we can control that. Okay, so I could begin with just painting it like it is, and I can drain off some of the edge so it's not too runny. And I could just paint a stroke like that. So it would be about that dark, okay? I'm gonna zoom in just a touch so that you can still see it. There we go. So we could make it like that. If I wanted it darker, I would drain off a little bit more, and then after it dries, I could paint more on it, okay? If I wanted it lighter, what I could do is I could wash out my brush and get a little bit of water, and then I've got a little bit that I put in here. I don't want too much. I don't want to fill that whole thing up because it could be a big mess. And then I could put it on here and make it like a watery gray. And I could use the tip of my brush to make like little lines if I wanted to that were gray. Someone in the last class did the word lonely and they used like a gray. But see how I can use the tip to create small little lines. Now, I will say this, sometimes tempera paint falls to the bottom because of the weight of it. So I sometimes, if I want something really dark, I kind of scrape on the bottom a little bit and then scrape my brush off. And you're probably going to see that that's going to be even darker. And I'm going to try to use the tip of my brush to create a little thin line. Okay, so you can see that's even darker than my first line that I put on. I could outline this with that. I could wash off my brush and just use water and let it run a little bit. Okay, so there's lots of different stuff I could do. I could take it and squeeze off as much water as I could. See how I squeeze the water off into the water can? And then I could take as much off as I can here, and then maybe on my underneath sheet I could take off a lot, and then I could just work with it like a scratch. So it kind of scratches around. All right? I could create bold lines like that. I could create a line that gets like from thin to thick. And then what I could do is I could make one side thicker, so it almost becomes like a crazy shape. And paint that section in so that the line becomes thicker. I could create a line that's dashed or dotted. Okay, so we can kind of imply a line. So there's lots of different stuff this could do. All right, so you can play around with it on your mat before you start. But what we're going to use it for, and what I always do, like if I'm getting ready to paint on this and I don't want it all over my paper, I just get a paper towel and dry it off. And we're going to wash the tables at the end anyway, so then I just flip it over and use the other side, okay, to just protect the table from like super crazy wet paint. And then we're going to wash the table. Now what we're going to do, there's a whole bunch of different like ways we could do this. We need to come up with some emotional lines. So like some different emotions might be nice. Like what would be an emotion? Who has an emotion that you could like toss out there? What do you got? Okay, so we could do sad. What else?
Mad.
Mad? Okay.
Curious.
Curious. We got
Confused.
confused. Jazzy?
Excited.
Excited. That's an E. We got
Happy.
happy. Can we think of more descriptive words? We got
Frustrated.
frustrated. We got Olivia.
Joyful.
Joyful. I'm just going to do joy, okay? Because we could put full on there too. Somebody who hasn't gone yet. Brandon.
Flustered.
Flustered. Like that one. How about, can I do one more? Can I add one more? I am going to add the word lonely. All right, so now I've got all those words. Now, it's your choice. You could start with a pen or a Sharpie if you want, or you can just start with the paint, but you can't put the Sharpie on top of the paint, obviously, because it'll ruin the Sharpie, okay? So, like, all of these lines, it can't be, like, for happy, I cannot draw this. Get a piece of paper here. I cannot, for happy, draw this. That is not what I'm talking about when I talk about emotional line, all right? So, besides his nose is missing. So what we want is something that might look happy with the way that the line is. So like I could start like here. Might be something like that. Okay. Mad could be a couple of different things. Like it could be this kind of mad. Like I'm pouting under a table mad. Or it could be this kind of mad. Right? Sad could be like, I mean, it could be that simple. You see what I mean? Curious cannot be this. No, that's already a symbol. You're coming up with your own. Okay, so like I'm not going to give you a whole bunch of them. But what you might do is like, let's say, I don't want to do flustered because I have a feeling he's going to do it. Let's say, what am I feeling? I'm going to do this one. So like, I'm going to do this word. And I might do a little bit of work with a pen. Okay? Then what I can do is go back in with my paint and add to that. Like I might do something like this. So, you know, that takeoff of that question mark, although you can't do a question mark, you could do curving lines that feel questioning, right? And maybe that like spin out like, wonder what's going on. See what I mean? So you can kind of play around with that like that. You get it? Now you can play around on your mat, okay? As much as you want. But when you're ready, and we're going to try to get one done today. It's a get one done today kind of deal. When you're ready, you're going to get your paper. I'll make sure that's dry. And you're going to write your name on the back, the pencil that works. And you're going to write your class code, okay? And you're going to write down whatever emotion you're going to do. I'm going to write perplexed. You know what perplexed means? Perplexed. What do you think it means? What? Perplexed. Like, this might be my face if I'm perplexed. Huh? Confused? Or like trying to ponder something. Okay? So I would put my name, I would put, like, if you're 6B, you would put 6B. If you're 8A, you would put 8A. Okay? And then I'm going to flip that over, and what you want to do is work more in the center part of this card. We're going to write the word here. Don't write it yet, okay? That will be written later. So if I've got to write perplexed, I might do something like, that, and I feel like I want that and like maybe that, okay? And some of this. Okay, so I've got those lines started, and then I can take and enhance those lines with my paint. Okay? So I'm going to scrape off. Remember, if you're getting your paint out, you want to scrape it off a little bit so it doesn't run all over the place. And I could kind of play around with some of these and enhance them. If I wanted some areas gray, like maybe I want this area gray, I could water it down in my palette. And maybe play around with like maybe some grays in here. If I move fast enough, I should be able to water it down right onto my piece. So that like this little section right here is going to have some line, and later on we're going to add a little bit of color. So if you want to leave spaces for color, you can do that. But like maybe that would begin my picture of perplexed. All right, do you get it? Okay. So what we're going to do, I've got a whole bunch of words. I'm going to tape them up for you guys to be able to access. Right now, at your table, everybody needs to get an underneath sheet, or if like you're doing this independently off the web, there's going to be a place where your teacher will put these mats. Okay, so you'll get yourself a mat. You'll need, again, your mat, your paper that you're going to paint onto, your container of tempera paint, your palette, a water container to share with the person beside you, and then remember to get small brushes, not big ones, and then a Sharpie. Okay? Should you write your name on the back with a Sharpie? No. What do you write it with? A pencil, and then don't forget your class code. I didn't put it on because for some reason if I write 6A, then for some reason, like sometimes my 7A kids write 6A too. I don't know why. Okay, so but you guys write your own class code and then your word. Okay? All right, so you can go ahead and stop. Yep, start with that. Okay, so again, make sure you're not whispering because that camera does pick up like tons of sound. All right, so you can use different kinds of brushes, so you can use the little one and the big one, but I suggest you start with the bigger one. I'm gonna use the little one just to show you like what you might do. So confused might be like that. Okay. Lonely might be something. Now you can thin out this paint in your palette.
How does that make it confused by the dots of paint on it?
It can be. There is no wrong answer on it. There's no wrong answer. So like it can. You could just put a dot.
Alright.
So like if you're looking right up there. If I'm looking right up there, like right here, this is thinner paint. So I've thinned it out with some water. I could make this area lighter, and then I could squeeze off some of that paint, and I want to make like a tip on my brush, and I could do maybe something like that for Lonely.
You could have put a dot in the middle like it was all by itself.
I could. You got it. That's it. That's exactly how you do it.
What was that so funny?
I don't know, but you're right. That's how you do it. Okay? Like frustrated might be like I take this and I take off some of the paint
Just put a line.
and like I wiggle it around so that, and then it maybe I take out sections because like when you're frustrated, like by the end of it, you're just ready to throw it away. You see what I mean? So that could be like frustrated. Sad could be like a line dropping down. Excited might be one that bounces up. It can be dashed. So you can do dashing of line. You can make some lines thicker, some lines thinner. You can do that, okay? But when you get to your white paper, so you can play around on your underneath sheet and kind of figure out what you want to do. When you get to your white paper, what I usually do is, if I've already worked on my underneath sheet a little bit, I just take there's going to be paper towels at your table anyway because they're going to wipe off tables later. I just wipe it down a little bit so that it's not going to get on my actual sheet, okay? And then what you're going to do is make sure your name is on the back. You're going to put your class code. So you guys would be 8B, but whoever's watching this, they would put their own class code on. And then you would put whatever word that you're trying to depict on there. So like, let's see, I'll just grab one real quick. What's the one I saw a minute ago? That was kind of cool. Let's do anxious. Okay? Anxious. If you don't know how to spell the word, that's okay. Spell it whatever way you think you should spell it on the back, and then I'll look up the spelling for you later. Okay? The only way to fail this is a project where the only thing that you can do to fail it is to not do it. So like all you have to do is write your name, write the word on, and your class code. If you've got that on and you paint something on the front that seems to match that word, then you're golden. You get an A. Okay, it's either an A or an F, this project. All right, so then I turn it over, and then I would start with the bigger one, and I'm doing anxious. I'm gonna get some water on that brush. Oops. I must have got the one that you had a minute ago. And then I squeezed off some of the water so that I was making some of a point here. And then I'm going to scrape off some of the paint so it's not too crazy. And I think about like anxious. I can think about like when like you're building up to like something that's going to make you anxious. Yeah, like you don't want to do, like my husband taking me to like cocktail parties. I just hate that.
Your camera.
Is it dying?
Battery.
Yeah.
All right, it's okay. Here.
It's okay, because I'm stuck in
It's all right. We'll get you there.
Just draw something on whatever you think it would work for it.
Right. It's easy.